Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Just I am playing Final Fantasy XIV. Last episode we started off with doing the side quests. We started off with cleaning up a lot of stuff in Ishgard. We have already done a lot of stuff now. There are a couple more things left. Outside of, you know, the big quest lines, like the big blue quest lines. Which we will do after we are done with all this stuff. Lives are hard enough without some fresh-faced seminarians rubbing salt into our wounds. Will your precious words repay us for what we've lost? Will they bring back the dead? No, of course not, but as a pupil of the Scholasticate, I hate that. I cannot forsake the teachings. If you give the book back, I am certain I can show you the proper passage to provide succor in your time of... How dare you, as if the lines in this book will keep us warm at night. Better to destroy it than be destroyed by it. This is, sir, I absolutely cannot allow you to take that precious tome. Or that particular tome. Come back. Is he really going to... Oh no. You're an adventurer, aren't you? Please, will you help my friend get his tome back? We were on our way back to the Scholasticate when that man accosted us. It has become an unfortunate occurrence these days, but this is the first time someone went so far as to make off with one of our books. Theomacent may mean well, but I fear he will get caught up in a lot more trouble if they outnumber him. I'll go and get help. Trust me, I'm the only help he will need. I will hit him with a good old broil. I will embroil them. Right. In a never-ending circle of pain. Muahahaha. I am evil. There was also a quest over here, like right on the edge, which is really weird. But whatever. Oh, thank goodness, the swiftness of your report is most appreciated. The advent of the airship is truly a wonderful thing, but not without its hindrances, as you can see. They allow us to cross the ice wall, blocking passage to western Kirstis, and navigate the Sea of Clouds, but alone have mercy on a ship that should encounter dragons. That is why the Holy See has seen fit to employ machinists and astrologians in the operation of our airships. This really is, like, this quest, the side quest is really just the game being like, hey, you know, machinist and astrologian, am I right? Do it for Gilly. I think this is for a dungeon. Ah, Lynn, I was looking for you, or rather, your friend, Wedge was. Left a most puzzling message he did, with instructions to convey it to you verbatim. He requests your presence at the Etherochemical Research Facility in Az's Law for a project of the utmost secrecy. Sounds like nonsense to my ears, but he assures me you would grasp his intent. Well, that is the message, and now I've delivered it. So that will unlock a dungeon with a banger of a song. And also a piece of glamour that I'm going to be using for my scholar. But for that I would need to, you know, actually get it. Which is not particularly the easiest thing to do. Not at the best of times with that. Really, they went all the way into the broom? That's kind of... a bad place to be. What? Well, what have we here? Any ideas on what to do with these two, Ben? Ben, is that you? My goodness, what are the chances of meeting at a time like this? Please, I would appreciate it if you would ask your friend to produce the tome he has taken from me. Well, Theomacent. These fucking names. It's been a while. Careful now, I was in the mood for some light reading, but if you or your friend so much as take a step, your precious tome goes up in smoke. Ah, the Parables of Saint Denethor. I know this title. It's the one we were read as children. I recall Father Choiseau, I guess, gave you his own copy before you left the broom for your higher learning. Then you know how much it means to me. I made a promise to him to keep its lessons dear to my heart, and I've kept it with me ever since. All the more reason to burn it, to scatter the ashes and your dreams along with them. You taught us three the same. Why was I left to rot in this wretched place? Why not you or Lay? What made you two so bloody special? Put the book down, Ben, or I'll see you burn as well. Of all the people. You'd best watch yourself. The world is changing, and we won't listen to your lies anymore. I'll make sure of that. Sacrilegious bastard. It's been badly charred. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid you won't get much out of it now. Worry not, Lay. I have already committed the entire text to heart. I'm just happy it has been returned to me. Typical. We shouldn't let him off the hook so easily, you know. Were it not that I pity him, I'd hand him over to the Inquisitors without a second thought. You came to help me, yes? Were it not for you, I am certain they would have turned their hatred towards me soon after. I wish I could pay you for your services, but I'm afraid I live on but a meager stipend. Stipend? Yeah. Hardly enough for candles and ink. Or stipend? Stipend? I don't know that word. But if you'd be so kind as to tell me your name. Madame Ladair, I am sincerely grateful to you for your protection. I may not have much in the way of coin, but if you are ever in need of spiritual enlightenment, then you need look no further than the cathedral. Orone's blessings be upon you. What does one do with a smouldering tome of parables? Will they struggle to abide the lessons of its now blackened words, or rise from its ashes? This answer I eagerly await. Oh no, it's non-distinct black man. What is this, a Hildeband questline? Burp, burp, burp. Burp. Burp, burp, burp. We've returned not a moment too soon. Students seem less anxious, and business has nearly returned to normal. I presume you found who has been harassing them? Oh dear, not again. Where are the patrols when they are needed? They've been spread thin, from what I hear. Fortunately, this lady was willing to lend a hand. I thank you for looking out for the well-being of our pupils. I am Sister Gettel, I guess, of St. Andelim's Scholasticate. I hate all of these words. They suck, all of them. And might I ask you? Oh dear, I know your face. You are Madame Ladair, the one who had a hand in revealing the true history of the Holy See. What? You mean to tell me I've been asking the Madame Ladair as my errand girl, and you accepted it with such grace? Lona herself could not have arranged such a curious encounter. On the contrary, I believe our meeting is a product of intervention most divine. Madame Ladair, if you would be so inclined, I would like to take you to meet the headmistress of our humble Scholasticate. By your deeds was light shed on certain inconsistencies in Ishgard's history, and to a lesser extent, the Church's teachings. Needless to say, the resulting controversy has strained the relationships between the people and the clergy. The foundation of our great city-state rests upon the wisdom of the Enchiridion, whatever. Alas, the lowborn in particular have suffered greatly as a result of erroneous interpretations. Some have even begun to wonder if all our precepts have been thus distorted. We of the Scholasticate are wont to reflect upon these revelations deeper than most. Although we live as scholars, we had grown complacent accepting a single interpretation set forth by the Archbishop and his predecessors. Although we are openly re-evaluating our teachings, our students continue to be targeted by those who feel they have been deceived. As you yourself have no doubt seen, there are those who would rather purge the city of all clergy, regardless of their guilt. But with you on our side, surely those miscreants would think twice before harming our students. Pray come and visit our halls. I am certain the students would be put at ease to see you again as well. I must take my leave and return to the cathedral. Masai? Maskia? I have no idea, man. It has been a pleasure. Madame Ladair, I sincerely hope you shall consider my offer to meet with the headmistress. Elone's blessings be upon you both. Run! It is kind of intriguing and pretty dang apt that I would be going to this place as a scholar. You're a scholar, the most learned of jobs in ffXIV. In lore, I think, in any case. Madame Ladair, welcome to the Scholasticate. I appreciate you coming all this way, but I'm afraid the headmistress is not here at the moment. She has taken leave to rest. Forgive me, but I must ask you to meet with her another day. It truly is a pity, as I too was looking forward to our audience with you. Allow me to formally introduce myself. I am Father Bouvignon. I've heard much about you from Sister Gitel. In the headmistress's absence, I have been charged with tending to myriad administrative matters. While that would ordinarily constitute as simply waxing the seal to a pile of parchments, I have been forced to take a more hands-on approach. The deputy headmaster and I were just discussing a rather troubling event, which occurred soon after our students' encounter in the broom, and we fear it may be connected. Madame Ladair, you are familiar with the statue of Saint Valerian? The one in the center of the forum? House some male stonemasons have been working on chiseling a new head, and one of our students has been tasked with overseeing their work. Unfortunately, this student has since reported that the piece has vanished from the artisan's workshop. Given that it has little monetary value, Father Bouvignon and I cannot help but wonder if the culprit bears a grudge towards the student. Briardian, I know him, but I can't pronounce his name. Briardian, Consulting Inspector at your service. Hello. Lynn, what brings you here of all places? Oh, don't tell me. You were the hero that the students have been murmuring about? I cannot say I am surprised. You're acquainted with my nephew, Madame Ladair? Yes, mine uncle. You could say our paths have crossed more than once. An idea occurs to me. Lynn is an adventurer of exceptional skill in combat and dedication both. Pray allow me to appoint her as my assistant. No, associate. Associate in my work here at the Scholasticate. A prolonged association is like to raise more than a few eyebrows, if not invite criticism. While I understand your concern, I am willing to trust Briarden's I'm just going to call him Briarden. Briarden's judgment. Madame Ladair has shown nothing but compassion towards our students. At least permit me her company in ascertaining the piece's whereabouts. You may judge the value of our association afterwards. Very well, but no one is to speak of this to the headmistress. I will allow Madame Ladair to accompany you, but only for the duration of the investigation, and for the love of the Fury, be discreet. Excellent. Come then, our first course of action will be to question the student responsible for overseeing the statue's restoration. These fucking people. Madame Ladere, a pleasant surprise to see you once more. Praise be to Helone. So you're asking after the statue piece. I made sure to lock the workshop door, so I don't understand how it could have been taken. But were it not, I take full responsibility and will personally see it returned. Won't be necessary, Inspector Briarden, at your service. I am told you were recently harassed by several ruffians in the broom, and I suspect they may be responsible for this theft. What can you tell me about these men? Nothing, Inspector. I have never seen them before in my life. And besides, why would they want to steal the statue piece? It makes no sense. In any event, as I said, the responsibility is mine and mine alone. Now, if you would excuse me. Admirable sense of responsibility notwithstanding, is clearly hiding something. Then I think you may find our answers in Foundation. While I make inquiries in the broom, I ask that you keep an eye on the forum. Many miscreants are wont to delight in their misdeeds, and this one may be drawn to the statue. Madame Ladere, how did you... Suppose I should be honest with you. I am certain the stolen piece isn't that great. I know you're helping the inspector, but I beg of you. Let me try to reason with Ben first. Ben, please return the statue piece and all shall be forgiven. You do understand the consequences of what you are doing. Defiling a saint's monument is a serious crime. When Father Soissons... Sure. Works for me. Read his stories at the orphanage. You left the ones about Saint Valerian. Do you not wish to see the statue restored? Saint Valerian, an Azure Dragoon who stood a great worm away from Ishgard. For all we know, that too was a lie. The Hodisi and their bloody highborns deceived us, Theo. They built their fortunes on our backs, but you would willingly believe those lies if it meant a chance at a better life for yourself? I know you were the one behind this. You've been following Theo and me ever since we met in the broom. Be careful, Lynn. He's not going to give it up without a fight. Well, wait, all of you. I still believe Ben will do what's right. There you go again, turning up your nose and spewing shite as if you're one of them. Don't you see? I am doing what's right. I'm ridding us of these false heroes. Keep your bloody head. In your library, and lessons filled with lies. Believe them if you want. You're just as bad as the rest. He is right to be angry. I dreamt of teaching our people to walk in Helona's grace. But when the scripture itself has been called into question, how am I to find my own way? Whatever should I do? Forge your own path. My own path? You mean interpret the scripture on my own? A different approach to our faith, to be sure, but mayhap you have the right of it. Forgive me, Ben, but I have come too far to give up now. If Helona's teachings have been distorted by man's hand, then by man's hand must they be redeemed. That's all well and good, but we won't change Ishgard by standing around in the snow. At least Ben left us the statue piece. We'd best return it before that priced peacock starts squawking to the deputy headmaster. Will you come too, Lynn? I'm sure he will appreciate your help in retrieving it. Ba, 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 ba. I kind of wish that I was doing this quest as a warrior, because that would look pretty dang fun. Madame Ladair, I see you've returned as well. Lay and Theomasent have just finished explaining to me what happened. I thank you for your help in resolving this matter swiftly. Quickly, yes. But there appears to be something missing, Lynn. Pray tell, what became of the suspect? Surely these two wish to seek justice for the theft. Those two will tell you not, Inspector, for they are the culprits whom you seek. Allow me to shed some light on this troubling situation. As a son of House de Mail, it pained me to learn that our artisan specialist's work had been spirited away. So I saw fit to conduct my own investigation. I followed Lay at a distance, only to find him and his friends consorting with the culprit. Camaraderie among orphans of the broom is to be expected, but to steal a saint's head so that they may retrieve it to prove their merit? And such desperation that they would desecrate a tome in this matter. You would expect a seminarian to treat any holy text with the utmost care, even if they are but children's stories. Piss off, you priggish warhorse son. Lynn was there. She'll tell you you're wrong. Enough, you will all conduct yourselves with decorum as befits seminarians. Lay, we will discuss penance for your foul language anon. Father Brevagnon, if I may. The next time the scholasticate apportions work with the sacred monuments, pray entrust a task to me. I'm certain the artisans of my house would be at ease knowing their work was in cleaner, more dependable hands. And as for my ignoble peers, if the comprehension of advanced scripture is still beyond you, such that you require a tattered tome of children's lessons, then allow me to procure for you a new copy with mine own coin. You need not thank me. House de Mail prides itself on its charity to the deprived. My tome, if you would... Oof. Just how long are you planning to lie there? This has suddenly just turned into like a school anime or whatever. It's ridiculous. You're completely hopeless. Thank you, Blazy. Oh no! No! Oh my god. This is a lot more involved than I expected. I did not expect this. I thought I was just going to be talking like politics for the next like 2 episodes. God, this is what happens when you let him walk all over you. It'll be a miracle if we're not branded heretics by the end of this term. Lay, Theomasent, consider this a warning. You were saved this time solely by Madame Ladair's integrity and the grace of the Fury. But I will not turn a blind eye if you continue to fraternize with questionable company. Ah, the insurmountable wall between the highborn and lowborn. I wonder, did our ancestors build it brick by brick, or was it fate that which drove us apart? And where shall we go from there? Yeah, boy. This guy. What the hell is happening? Madame Ladere, I must apologize for the behavior of my students. They have been at each other's throats since the revelation came to light. As for your performance, you have surpassed my expectations, and I will allow you to assist Briarden in his work at the Scholasticate. Well done. If I may be so bold, Uncle, though I have but arrived, and this is the only case you have had me investigate thus far, I must say that I find it rather a waste of my talents. While theft is indeed a serious matter, I cannot help but wonder if this was merely some pretense. Surely you have a more pressing problem. An astute observation, I expected nothing less. There is indeed another matter I should discuss with you and your newly appointed associate. I'd better start from the beginning. It would not do to involve Madame Ladere with our affairs without first ensuring she possesses a proper understanding of how our seminary functions and how we have been forced to change. You see, most men and women from the cloth that go on to live fulfilling lives as pastors, academics, and poets. However, those who graduate from the Scholasticate with the highest marks are given an opportunity to serve in the vault, and perhaps one day rise to prominence. The stakes, give me a moment, the stakes are quite high for those who seek prestige. For they know full well that their academic performance may determine their future. It is they who strive for the top 3 seats that are granted to the Scholasticate's official endorsement, the Trinity. And so those who wish to guard Ishgard's faithful spent their days accumulating marks through academic pursuits, while at the same time honoring their skills to persuade others to share their interpretations of Scripture. Up until now, it resulted in no more than the occasional lively debate, for the Holy See was ultimately responsible for dictating doctrine. Ranking was naturally determined by one's familiarity with said doctrine. However, in light of recent events, that is no longer an option. Simply put, we cannot currently assess their academic performance in the traditional manner. As a significant portion of the curriculum has been called into question, as a result, we have been forced to consider more subjective methods. And in this time of uncertainty, students are wont to lash out at their peers when they fear will exploit this interim system to their advantage. Distressing, I suppose, but what does it have to do with us? Or require your unparalleled skills of observation and deduction? The only way to put an end to this bickering between students is to ensure beyond a shadow of a doubt that our interim evaluations are conducted in a fair and equitable manner. I ask you to stand as observer until a new curriculum is decided. Our evaluation system is vulnerable. In other words, you want us to catch the cheaters. Precisely. Now then, I have received word that the headmistress has returned to her office in the cathedral. I would ask that you introduce yourselves. But there is something you should keep in mind when speaking with Headmistress Elvian. She was appointed to her position by the former Archbishop, thus her views on the curriculum are quite traditional. I would advise you to discuss matters regarding the Holy See with the utmost care. You know, I really thought that this question was going to be a slog, but man, it's actually good. I'm actually enjoying it. We have been expecting you. The headmistress awaits you within. Headmaster Elvian, may I have the pleasure to introduce the individuals who shall be in charge of keeping order at the Scholasticate. This is Consulting Inspector Bryden and his associate Lynn Adair. Lynn Adair, I must say, Father Brevagnon, your selections are rather appropriate. We thank you both for your service in our time of need. I trust that Father Brevagnon has briefed you on our humble seminary. Saint Endelim's Scholasticate has produced Ishgard's finest clergy for centuries, including countless men and women who have served in the highest echelons of the Holy See. All of whom were spared a brutal death on the battlefield in service to a misguided war they perpetuated, or so some might be given to say. Indeed, some might, and they would not be entirely mistaken. For while we were wholly unaware of the deceptions perpetuated by the archbishops, we did unwittingly sustain it, to our sorrow. The idea that we willingly subjected them to false precepts is, of course, preposterous, a contrived fantasy. Nevertheless, some fervently believe it true, and these self-same individuals have come to view our instructors and students as targets for their misguided anger. It is of paramount importance that we restore faith in the teachings. Yet how are we to regain the trust of the common man when our own seminarians are embroiled in childish quarrels? You refer to this tension regarding the interim evaluation system. Quite frankly, it is but one facet. Classes have also been suspended until we complete our own painstaking review of the curriculum. Some students have taken leave, while the more dedicated have taken it upon themselves to conduct independent work to demonstrate their merits. We cannot allow this situation to continue indefinitely. Graduation is approaching, and we must make our recommendations. But the senior class is divided. They do not know how they will be evaluated. Rather, they understand how they will be evaluated, but have no faith that our methods will produce a fair result. A concern not without merit, I must confess. I do suspect that some may be driven to manipulate the interim system to their advantage. I expect some have already tried, but that is why we have brought in outside observers. Inspector Bryden, Nader, if anyone is engaging in unscrupulous behavior, I should have it brought to an end at once. May the Fury guide you in your tasks. Now then, before we proceed, might you both tell us a little bit about your students, Father? My apologies, I am Father Saturnois. In addition to teaching the fundamentals of Hellenic polity? Yeah, I guess. Polity? I also oversee fundraising for the stipends of underprivileged students. While I would like to help you, I think my opinion would not do them justice. I would suggest getting to know them yourselves. I feel the same. The way in which pupils speak in front of their instructors is not the same as amongst themselves. In my 10 years of counseling, they have minded their etiquette and are not but cordial to me. However, I can recommend one of my students who is quite vocal. Maybe try speaking with the dormitory prefect, Arcombadin? Jeez. Given his closeness to the students' local affairs, social affairs, he may also be able to give you insight on what they talk about. Arcombadin? Archobani? Badin? But this dude. Ah yes, the silver-haired boy, a son of House the Male, as I recall. We shall heed your suggestion, Sister Gitael. Gitael? Whatever, man. Given his duty and status. I never know, like, if I should try to pronounce these in a French way or not. By the way, my French is not good. So, you know, either way, these names are going to be a mess for, I think, the entire expansion. Or the entire rest of the expansion. Has no one ever told you that brandishing weapons is frowned upon in the places of enlightenment? That is, unless Lei has sent you to stir up more trouble. Rest assured, my associate inspector draws her armaments only to resolve troublesome situations, not create them. We merely came to ask of your well-being and your expectations for the future. Under the auspices of the headmistress, I'm sure. Very well. I, Labrassoir de Bonfort of House Bonfort, in service to House the Male, present to you Archombadin de Male. As prefects for the scholasticate dormitory, we are responsible for keeping the peace between our fellow seminarians. Correct me if I'm wrong, but are you not a foreigner who went to rather great lengths to expose the Archbishop's falsehoods? Responsible for the re-evaluation of the entire curriculum? Quite a resolution, that. And for what? Every great nation's history is marred by the sins of the past. Alamego, Ulda, Limzalaminza? Please. Each was built on a foundation of lies and blood. Which is not to say we elites should not learn from these mistakes, but we who have served as shepherds of the people for 1,000 years have a duty to maintain order through the preservation of tradition. Would a Wainwright cast aside his father's best cart when it does but a broken wheel? Wheel? Yes. Indeed. Archombadin and I have said as much to those who support a more radical approach. The last thing we need is young seminarians running about crying for reformation. I see, so you both have been quite active in convincing the other students to see things your way. How have you fared? This is hardly a daunting task. Many seek comfort in consistency. Sister Gatel has tasked us with bringing back the students who took leave. Why not let our results determine how persuasive we are? I thank you, gentlemen, for your cooperation and wish you the best of luck with your efforts. Nat and Lynn, if these students are bringing back their truant peers, there must be others who are doing the same. Let us split up and seek out the participants. An exotic flower graces us with her presence today. Well met, my dear. And what am I, chopped liver? He was looking at me until you showed up. Ah, I see. So you're helping Inspector Briarden. A pleasure to meet you. I am Commentating de Mainteny. But you may address me simply by my first name. So what brings you to the pillars? Could it be you are to observe how we go about convincing truant seminarians to return? And by all means, let me show you how it is done. I must admit, I find many of the other students rather intimidating, but thanks to Cremavois, I am considering returning to the Scholasticate to resume my studies. We were just discussing the responsibilities the Highborn have to redress the imbalance. Of the furious love will all men receive, and by the balance of her spears shall all be set free. So it is written in volume 11 of the 72 Articles of Hellenic Polity. Equal under her ever-watchful gaze. Ah, would that you graced our halls with your presence once more, that I might favour you with mine own gaze. I fondly recall seeing your lovely face, always buried in that tome. Oh, Cramavo, you did notice. I thought to pen a lengthy treatise on it, but I could not make do once the volume finished. Oh, so you helped Mathai by searching for that tome. With how relevant the content has become these days, I suppose it is not surprising it would go missing. In any event, you've convinced me. I will gather my things and return to the dormitory straight away. Yes, that is the way. One must seize the moment and act upon one's convictions. Life is but a fleeting, fragile thing. Wouldn't you agree, my dear? Well, I have done my part in guiding a little lamb back to the flock, and now to celebrate with a well-deserved nap. I bid you both farewell. Boop, beep, beep. Boop. Beep. Oh, hello, Lynn. Leigh and I were just about to visit our friends in Foundation and try to convince them to return to their studies. It's been difficult since we aren't exactly held in high regard right now. The dormitory prefects have already made sure of that. We must do all in our power to motivate our friends to come back to the Scholasticate. Then we can strive for high marks together. Right, and then we can convince our peers that we are just as worthy as any highborn in the clergy. They will welcome us with open arms, and all will be well in Ishgard. If Badin, sure, and his cronies receive the Scholasticate's endorsement, no one will ever listen to us. We can't let them take the Trinity. I would rather not think of it that way, Leigh. Let us just focus on bringing back as many people as we can. Well, that's how the Highborn are thinking about it. The more vocal we become, the more they will see us as a threat. That's why we have to stick together. Why speak normally when you can make sounds? That's a lot of people. Right then, let us see how competitive these students truly are. It brings me joy to see so many of our brothers and sisters return to the Scholasticate. Sister Getae, the floor is yours. Thank you, Archambada. Archambada? I hate this name. Who is this guy? I hate him. I will now announce how many of our stray sheep are each student persuaded to come home. Both the Yamasent and Lei were able to bring back one student each. Janchette guided 2 into our arms. Archambada and Lebrassoir were each able to convince 3 students to return, the most of all. Excellent work, all of you. What about the student Carmavoy convinced to return? Oh, is this true? Are we missing someone from the count? The girl you speak of has formally withdrawn from the Scholasticate. Apparently she was not at all that enthusiastic about returning as she had led Carmavoy to believe. Perhaps she chose to play along so that he would cease his harassment. Perhaps it was for the best. She rarely engaged her fellow students, instead choosing to sit alone and read the articles of Hellenic polity. Given the recent revelations, I suspect she became disillusioned there with the faith. Strange you would say that, Labersoir. When last I spoke with her, Ula was quite interested in volume 11's, equal under her ever-watchful gaze passage. One that you and your masters would sooner pretend did not exist. If she were the victim of harassment, I rather expect it was at your hands. Are you implying that we had something to do with it because we did not share her views? What rot! You dishonor yourself and your house with such baseless accusations. Rather you would, if aught remained of your house to dishonor. I yield, good sir, I yield. I like the qualities the honorable Lord Archambada possesses, which enable him to deliver such observations. Well, if Eula has withdrawn, then I must mourn her departure, by walking through the dormitory halls reciting excerpts from volume 11. And how do you intend to do that? Volume 11 of the article of Hellenic polity has been missing for some time now. The terms themselves are inconsequential if one has taken the words to heart. How fortunate we are that the wisdom of our forebears is not so easily forgotten. Don't you not agree? Such impudence as befits a 6th son. For all his failings, his father was wise to send him away. At any rate, we are blessed that this handful of true ones has returned to us. Truly, it is the furious will that we overcome these trials and tribulations, and move forward with a singular vision for the future. A student with a keen interest in a controversial precept who withdraws without explanation. This seems rather odd to me as well. I'm happy it is worthy of our attention. Lynn, were you present when Cromavois spoke with Ula? So she was indeed enthusiastic about returning to the Scholasticate. Then why did she instead decide to withdraw? Cromavois all but accused Archambard of having a hand in it, as well as the disappearance of this volume 11. Not more than slander spoken in anger, perhaps, but the situation does merit further investigation. I look forward to your results, Inspector. Mr. Soder, if I might have a word with you in private, pray meet with me near the plaza in front of St. Raimondaud's Cathedral. I like how whenever I need to say a name, it's like... Oh, French. Am I right? I hope I can, yeah, okay. Thank you for coming, Mr. Soder. You're already acquainted with my 2 best students, Thiamasent and Lei. They have sought my counsel in their quest to obtain the Trinity seats, and I have been more than willing to oblige them out of a desire to ensure that all students are given equal opportunity. I am not blind to the machinations of our highborn students after all. I know not what Archambault and Labrossois have said to you, but I advise you to weigh it carefully. You witnessed their treatment of a fellow highborn student, did you not? Then it should come as no surprise that they regard our lowborn peers far more harshly, discriminating against them with whatever means at their disposal. Those two believe that less fortunate students lack the potential to become great clergymen. But if Theomasant and Lay can obtain the highest marks and secure their place within the Trinity through their hard work and virtue, then these misguided beliefs would be proven wrong. Even if you were to succeed, what difference would it make? Those two would agree. Those who disagree will not be so easily swayed, and those who sympathize will be reluctant to speak out of fear of reprisals. Then you must find allies who are fearless, who do not flinch in the face of threats. Mr. Adair, have you come across any who fit that description? What about Cromevois? I like how I can just say nothing. I thought so as well. He seems to treat everyone the same, and he defended Ulla's honor at the assembly. The highborn lecher, who skips out on session and can't even stay awake for the ones he intends? Theo, are you daft? If he did decide to help us, I wouldn't even want it. We need to dismiss him out of hand, Lay. As Theomasant said, he spoke out openly against Archambault and Labrossois on behalf of Ulla. He might be willing to do the same for you two. Absolutely not. I don't trust any of the highborn. Look, I'll help finding others, but you're on your own with Cromevois. Very well, Mrs. Adair. Will you accompany Theomasant? One cannot be too careful, especially with a rise in assaults on the clergy. Thank you. I'm certain we can find him in the pillars, in his usual spot. I thought he would be more receptive to my appeal, but instead he seems rather annoyed. Can't you and Freckles say we're busy? Leave us be. Freckles, you certainly have a way with words, my dear. She is quite right, you know. We have more pressing matters to attend to. Cromevois, please, will you not help our cause? I believe us to be like-minded individuals, those who desire a new path for the church, one based on principles of... So earnest and forthright, how adorable. I can hardly resist pinching those soft, supple cheeks. Oh, for the love of... Come, darling, let us go somewhere that will afford us privacy. An offer that I dare not refuse. Good luck with whatever it is you're about, Freckles. He's gone. No, I cannot give up. The future of the church depends on us. I was not given an opportunity to explain in full, so I will not leave his sight until he hears me out. Now, let's not get too hasty. I'm sure we can resolve this matter peacefully. Agreed, so long as you don't try something stupid and give me cause to cut his throat. Did I not tell you I was preoccupied? You dare, take Freckles and get out of here. Release him at once or I'll summon the watch. Don't you dare. The affairs of House Maintenier are none of your concern. She demands recompense, and rightly so. If I must pay my life, then so be it. I will not allow it. Oh, do not look so glum. If I must look upon your freckled face before I ascend to Hallone's halls, I would rather you favor me with a smile or some such. Father's sins are mine alone to bear now, mine alone to answer for. Mayhap in death our house shall at last be redeemed. If it is recompense you desire, then you shall have it, but not with his life. The Fury forgives not those who kill their fellow man for wanton purpose. Permit him to address your grievances with coin, and you may have your justice without sin. Furthermore, I offer myself to you as a hostage in his place, that he might be free to secure sufficient ransom. Have you gone mad? I told you this is none of your... I will not abandon such a pious soul, one who shares my desires to make the world a better place. We are not so different, Cromevois. We have the chance to make amends for the sins of our fathers, to make Ishgard whole again. I cannot do it without you. You really are something else, making a bloody speech about changing the world at a time like this. I offer the wealth of House Mentonier as ransom. If the lady agrees to these terms, then I will go and retrieve it at once. I'll take her silence as a yes. Now come, now then, come. I've always wanted to tie someone up. Sir? You will have to travel to my family's old estate in the Western Highlands to retrieve your ransom. I presume you will wait here until I return? For now, but if you do not come back quickly, and with a great deal of money besides, this one's life is forfeit. Is that clear? Quite. As for you, Freckles, do not do anything else reckless. Mr. Adair, I must ask that you come with me. It would not do to go through all this trouble only to be waylaid by bandits on my way back. Let us make haste. Make haste. Bum, 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 bum. Fly on my beautiful horse, fly on this beautiful horse. It's a beautiful horse, and I cannot think of new lyrics because I am incapable of doing stuff like that. Don't even... whatever. Right. Forgive me, my family's fortune is buried not far from here, but I would rather retrieve it alone. Pray remain here a moment and keep watch for bandits and wild beasts. Really now. That was wrong. That was wrong. Whoopsie. I have what we came for. Now then, let us pray that Freckles is still alive and well. What am I doing? Can I teleport closer to there? No. I cannot. I must needs walk. As is to be my wont. In this hellhole of a city. No, no. That's but a jest. I like Ishgard. It's about time I'm freezing and had a half a mind to skin this one to keep warm. Now then, hand it over. Here you are, the entire fortune that was bequeathed unto me. Share it with your people as recompense, starting with the families of the bereaved. On behalf of House Montagnier, I am truly sorry. Theo, fury for friend, what have you gotten yourself into this time? I swear, I leave you alone for but a moment. I was never in any danger, Lay. I prayed to the Fury, and by her hand was Cromevois returned to me. I am terribly sorry to have involved you in my personal affairs. I should have known that the lives of my family would not be enough to sate the small folk's thirst for vengeance. Think nothing of it. I too lost my father. So if you ever need to speak about it, you can confide in me as a friend. My father sought to curry favor with the Holy See, and so he raised great levies to send to the front lines. Honor was his prize, but it was bought with the blood of his subjects, and eventually his own. The small folk had come to resent his demands for service, and when the truth of the war was revealed, they revolted. The mob overran the manor guard, and my father and 5 brothers perished at their hands. Had I not been sent away, I would have surely died with them. Our fortunes had grown poor following the calamity, you see, and since I was the youngest, father bid me leave to make my own way, so I enrolled in the scholasticate with hopes of becoming a bishop, to bring honor to myself and my house, but now... No, there's no use dwelling in what could have been. We must look to the future and do what we can to make Ishgard whole again. Every moment is sacred, and you help me to see that, Theo. Consider me your friend and ally. Well said, Cormevois. Well said. Together you may yet bring about lasting change. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Without the endorsement of the scholasticate and the support of our peers, no one will listen to us. What's more, I still haven't heard anyone explain how we're supposed to get seats in our Trinity. Ishgard wasn't built in a day, LA. Besides, we still have plenty of time to work something out. See? I knew he wouldn't take this seriously. Calm yourself, Lay, and keep an open mind. Now let us return and discuss our next course of action. Oh, I nearly forgot. Inspector Bryden was looking for you at the cathedral. He wishes to speak with you regarding his investigation, I believe. We're gonna finish off this quest, and then we are going to call it quits for the day. Enough school life. And I can catch up on messages that have been sent to me. And there's no like cutscenes or something, I can't really do anything else. Right, I could pause the recording here, but whatever. Well then, my associate, have you anything to report? Complete. Whoopsie. There we go. A former subject of House Mentonier demanded recompense for the misdeeds of Cramovoir's father. How fortunate that the situation was resolved peacefully. My investigation has been less productive, unfortunately. I thought to speak with Ulla, the student who withdrew from the scholasticate, but I cannot find her anywhere. The same must be said of the infamous Volume 11, which contains a passage extolling the virtues of equality. Like the girl, it has vanished without a trace. The circumstances surrounding these incidents suggest deliberate intent. Someone may be attempting to turn this tenuous state of affairs to their advantage. But if so, then to what end? For 1,000 years a sickness has ravaged our city, has festered within the hearts and minds of our citizens, and in our clergy especially. Treating it will be a long and arduous process, but an altogether necessary one. Our role in that process is clear: to diagnose the root of the scholasticate's ailments. If there are malicious forces at work, then it is our duty to see justice done. In a time of unrest, when the light of truth was lost to the righteous, the children looked to one another for guidance, that they might walk in her grace. And then we get back to school 1. How many of these are there again? So now I get special advisor. Let's see. Because I know there's more than one. If I... There we go. There's 3 of them. Oh boy! Anyway, my friends, hope you enjoyed this episode of just I was playing Final Fantasy XIV. In the next episode, we're going to go and deal with more side quests. Goodbye.